If it's a one-day event, but I would rather stretch it till late. We have swapped with the Deputy Minister. She will do the closing remarks. I'm doing the opening remarks because at 11 I must leave because the President has called all the ministers to Cape Town. Now, you see, when you are called by the President, you choose between the President and the Premier. You know that you are safer with the President than with the Premier, you know. So I have to leave at 11. Then the DM will close the session. Let me make a few observations. First observation,
are they not getting left behind in this exploration? I mean, they could be sitting on a vast tracts of land with very, very good minerals, but they don't have money to do the exploration, and they're being left behind.
Dr. Raisaka, you know, it's very interesting what you're saying. It's a very important aspect of bringing the communities in. KZN and Eastern Cape, provinces all over the country, they need to know what is the issue here is access to information. There are no road shows that I know of that goes around the country and inform people about how to apply for minerals. What I've seen in terms of this, the permits that get issued out to the communities, they are under-resourced. What you find is that we end up mining so-called illegally, but you've been given a permit to mine. The challenges that I have found, especially traveling around in the Mpumalanga area, I have found that, yes, people get given permits, but they are left to their own devices. You know, I have friends who are really battling. I mean, coal is a volumes game. If you don't have volumes, you're not gonna succeed in the game. What I found guys there out in Emelo, you know, drilling with a jackhammer, you know, open cast mine. I mean, they don't make much out of it. Very high quality coal. So hence, you know, my appeal is, isn't there a structure in the government that can help these communities in terms of access to funds, in terms of access to expertise? I mean, they've come to me asking for explosives. You know, I've got rock-breaking cartridges, especially if you are mining next to the communities. But they can't afford them. They can't afford yellow equipment. They have to make plans to try and get the mineral out, which is next to impossible. How are we going to have sustainability in terms of competency of these people that have been given these opportunities? I mean, the government is right. Help the people to be empowered, but don't just leave them to the devices. Come up with structures that sort of support these people and not just call them illegals, illegal mining.
That's very interesting because there's a proliferation of illegal mining, particularly in this province, particularly around Rustenburg and so on, because a lot of communities are sitting on vast tracts of land with chrome, with all other things, and they cannot jump that hurdle of exploration. And they get people who have excavators and so on, and we see the land, you know, being mined in a very terrible manner. So do I understand you correctly to say that we need to go back to the regulator and find ways and means in which regulator can now start empowering communities with this hurdle of exploration?
No, thanks for that. What I really appreciated from the minister yesterday, I mean, firstly, I want to thank you for this initiative. This initiative engages communities. 2 days is still okay for me. I think people came here, they were expecting to meet the CEOs. We didn't see the CEOs here because we have access. But this conference in a prestige, ba recognize or depend more status in Sabona because they have access to funds all across the world. But coming back to your question, Dr. Raisaka, I mean, it is true. You know, you need to capacitate the communities. We're not asking for a handout. We're not asking for a minister to handhold us, and then you've been seen to be giving these people, our people, these major miners, a chance, or you prioritizing them over existing people, existing operators. But the truth of the matter is that we don't have access. We don't have access to funding. We don't have access to expertise. There are many people that the government has trained, just like the minister alluded to earlier on.
Okay.
But those resources can be, you've got to establish a centralized system somewhere where you support these people for access, for funding, for expertise, skills transfers, international partnerships. Because what you want that in the future, in 100 years' time, you want to see a contract miner coming out of Chaneng who is no longer working at Impala or BRPM, but he's also supplying services out there in Zambia. You can only do that deliberately. We've seen that all nations across the world, they practice that, whether it's the US, China. Chinese, when they come here, they buy a mine. The suppliers are going to be Chinese, deliberately so. So we're asking for the government to also take deliberate action to help us.
Okay. Now, let me address this to both Mr. Pito and Masinga. The Reserve Bank has just come up with a very steep, they've surprised the market by coming up with a very steep 50 basis points because they blame it on load shedding and they're trying to control inflation. So which means that it's not only going to be expensive for the big guys, but even more expensive for the smaller guys. How do we deal with that? I'm asking if you can just give a short answer, and then Mr. Masinga also on the same.
Okay. Yeah, the sad part about this country is that the department works in silos. DTI, which is the money supposed to be to people, is not working with DMR, and I'm not blaming each other. So you can have all the programs that you want in the DMRE, but if IDC refuses to fund exploration, then as a country we've got a problem. So I think we should move from siloification, if there's a word like that, and start working as a team, because there are programs. One of the things that AEFMC is doing in the coal side is actually to do exactly what you're saying. We take a guy who's got 5-hectare, whatever, coal mine, we bring the skills, we bring the geology, and when I'm saying we, I mean we're talking to geoscience, and then we are the miners, and then we talk to ESCOM, and then we come with the lawyers, we package it, we sell it to ESCOM, he makes money, we make money. The same model can be copy-pasted from Northwest, Limpopo. The problem is, at one stage, we have to cut the umbilical cord so that it can be there. But the South African banking system does not believe in putting money at the first phase. They always put money when the company is up and running. You look at Royal African Platinum shares, 80% of it is owned by bankers or financial institutions. You look at how much shares Investec buys in. I think it's a cultural financial problem that the system does not believe in the young people. Whereas Canada and Australia, it's opposite. And we should be behaving like Canadians, we should be behaving like Australians, and funding even the explorers that are coming from nowhere.
Thank you. Mr. Masinga?
Okay, thank you. I think when it is difficult, it's becoming more difficult to borrow, and that on its own is a challenge, especially for an emerging miner. I like what the initiative the government is taking to release the 500 million. It's a start, but I think they should be a way of stimulating that, or like what I've heard is happening in countries like the DRC, where the government is matching every dollar that a private investor is investing with regards to exploration. Because as it is, if we do not have that uptake from the government to incentivize, I think it's going to be very difficult. And the less exploration we do, the less exposure we're going to do to finding minerals, and the whole industry will suffer. So I think the government needs to take the initiative to partner with private sector and find a model that can work for emerging miners. I mean, now that Geoscience yesterday were talking about, they can give us detailed information where the ore body is. So in cases like that, if the government is to meet up with private investors, I'm sure that could be a start of us trying to alleviate this funding issue.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me just say, you know, when we talk about mining services, we're not just talking about equipment and machines and so on, but also human resources, which is absolutely critical. I'd like to hear from the panelists here what your thoughts are on human resources as a way of overcoming the hurdles in exploration. Please.
If I may, maybe digress a bit. You know, when I started, I said we look at exploration from a mining side, but there's also another part of exploration that we've been heavily involved in, which is on the tailing side. And I normally call that low-hanging fruit exploration. Why am I saying that? If you look at the Northwest Province, it's iron ore, it's manganese, and it's chrome and ferrochrome. In all those four commodities, the tailings are still very good in terms of quality. In fact, manganese tailings are not touched. Iron ore tailings since the 1940s are not touched. So there is great opportunity because we know they've extracted the part of the mineral, but there's still great opportunity there. Now, I see a phenomenon where these tails are sometimes being hoarded and not being afforded to the communities to work with. And that's where the issue of HR comes in, because the people that work these mines are people in our communities. And if these tailings could be afforded to the communities, you have in-kind funders coming and partnering with the communities, as we are doing with a community in the Northern Cape on iron ore at the moment. Then that's going to open up quite a lot of work for the communities, but then localization doesn't become a dream. It becomes a reality. So I do really think that when we talk exploration, we also have to put a lot of emphasis on tailings. Ferrochrome tailings, the price of ferrochrome now is serious cash. But all the ferrochrome dams are lying and sitting with a lot of ferrochrome in it. Yeah. And every time you talk about it, everybody talks about chrome 6. It can be overcome. It's the same as somebody saying, yeah, coal is contributing to carbon. Well, it can be overcome. It's not an issue.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Peter, and I'll come to you, yeah. Mr. Mseki.
Yeah, again, everybody my age will remember that there was a thing called Jamtar schools. So Jamtar schools was where the mines used to train people, geology, survey, before the varsities, before the technical. That idea has fallen away. And the problem we're having as a country is that the qualified people, some are leaving the country, some are going into the continent and Scotland. So for us to keep the resources inside the country, I think we should involve MQA. You know, MQA should be sitting here with us saying, I've got X amount. This is X amount that we can actually allocate for exploration. So there's a system where the mining companies pay skills development fund. But that fund is sitting there, I don't say it's not working, but I'm saying it can be used effectively by creating the HR resource gap or by closing it down.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mseki?
Yeah, the skills, the skills is what we should prioritize depending on the mining district. How can I go to Zimbabwe? I go 30 meters. I hit the vein. Then I follow the vein, peak. And then in some more, then I take the soil for processing. Then I come up with some nuggets. It's cheaper that way. But in the communities where we are, it's deeper. And it requires funding for you to get it, right, to get the minerals. To come and see if we can develop a project, only to find him back in employment because 3 years, that prospecting right, he's lost it because he hasn't done anything about it. That is why I'm saying, right, there has to be a deliberate action to identify opportunities where it's shallower, where it's medium, intermediate, and then deeper, to say what are the strategies that can assist the communities in being able to do this. Prospecting, in any case, I don't know. So not many people are incentivized to go into it.
Now there is a fund which I don't really know how to identify it, but I believe it's at the provincial level that it's held by the provinces on behalf of communities. I don't know if it's called the B fund or the F fund. Are you suggesting that that fund should also be used to help the communities in the exploration activities?
O pile kgomo le naka Ntate Raisaka ga o le fo o mo tseleng a gona le tsela nngwe e puso e ka thusang exploration ga ke itse le gore I don't even know if the government has got a division, whether it's provincial, that is dedicated to say, right, we have a regional mining that issues these prospecting licenses. Yeah. Is it supported by a division where if people qualify for that funding, then maybe that's the first place to start.
Okay, I think we've almost come to the end of our time. If I can just say something before we're interrupted.
Yes, so that you wrap up the
Yeah.
last 5 minutes.
Okay, fine. The other issues that we haven't touched on are the issues of criminality. We know that we have a euphemism that we use in this country called Zamazama. But these people are nothing but economic terrorists. You know, they are really destroying the infrastructure and so on and so on. And most communities feel that they are held ransom by these because they are well armed, well organized. The police sometimes seem incapable of sorting these things out. I'm not advocating vigilantism, but how can the communities organize themselves, the authorities at provincial level, municipal level, national level, to deal with this criminal element? Particularly also within the communities where some members of the communities just go out there and do illegal mining. Please let's be short because now we've got 5 minutes.
In this country, we call it Zamazama. Everywhere else in Africa, it's called artisanal mining. Johannesburg was founded by artisanal miners. Kimberley was founded by artisanal miners. So what we're missing in this country is coordinating with the communities. Those are your geologists. I'm just saying the criminal element is criminal element, leave it aside. But the communities can use this thing. That's your exploration right there. People only go there because they've seen somebody mining there. So let's call it artisanal, let's treat it as artisanal, let's call crime a crime. So artisanal mining, let's upgrade it to something that we can call mining, just like Witwatersrand. Thanks.
Please,
I
Mr.
think
very short.
yesterday there was mention that Minister of Police has set up a special task force or a department that deals with that. But I think at the same time, these things are happening within our own communities. We know these elements. I think we've got community forums. I think it is platforms like that where such issues need to be brought up. So those community forums can then work with the police, and so that we can find a way out to resolve this. Because like he's rightfully saying, in Africa, they're called artisanal miners, and we call them a different name. Yes. So I think it's just a question of, it could be due to the frustration that they're not getting permits, they don't meet the requirements. Right. So I think it's a situation where communities as a whole need to find a way out to come to a solution and how to alleviate this.
Thank you. Mr. Gale?
Regulation. Government is tshwanetse to check regulation ya the artisanal miners. And secondly, then the banking system need to come in to maybe facilitate small scale mining funding of small-scale mining and, tech and equipment and so on.
Mr. Msiki.
Ke la ka leo. Borre ba ke ba buti ba rona, ke bonna ka rona. Let's not criminalize them. Mafuka borre ba buanga ke ona lolame.
So in summary, what we can say is that just like the evolution of something which was called dacha, which now today is legalized. So let's legalize illegal miners. Is that what we're saying? Okay.
Yeah,
The,
regulate it,
yeah.
You gotta regulate it. You have to regulate mining.
I'm saying that tongue in cheek. I do agree with you that
And
we
Chair,
should.
if I can add, all the mining assets are within the communities in this country. So start dealing with the community.
Thank you very much. In summary then, the issues that we've dealt with really today seem to be around funding, communities, criminality, and inviting the state to be much more active in regulating and helping small-scale miners to jump this hurdle. I thank you all, and I thank everyone for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ntate Raisaka and your panelists. Re lebogile thata borra. Ha ke tshepe, I don't think there are questions here. In my program, there are no questions. So I will just say you can just go back to your seat and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much. Ba opele matsogo ba gaetsho. Okay, just wait a second. Just wait, Ntate Raisaka. Just wait a second. There's a hand there. I'm having a program in front of me. I don't know in which item do you want to, honorable member there. Just give honorable member with the khaki shirt a mic, just to hear what is it that he want to say. You can never sit just a moment because he raised his
I'll give
hand
him my thing.
when I was saying you can sit down. You can as much as sit
I'm
down.
giving him this thing.
Pitu, come back.
No, I'm giving him this thing, what I very
Thank you, ma'am, for indulging us for this. We feel this is a section that speaks to the majority of the people in the room. It's not so much the questions that will be directed at the panel, but we feel we can contribute immensely in terms of some of the issues that were raised. The issues that were raised yesterday were very much high level in terms of investment. But now you are getting to our stage as contractors, as the beneficiaries that we are speaking to. And these are the challenges that really impact us. We would really be grateful if you can be afforded at least a number of hands to directly contribute to this. I'm speaking on behalf of everyone here today, just because you managed to give me that opportunity. So without going into the details, let's first hear if you would agree to that, if you could at least afford us that opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ntate. La ho sampolela leina la gago. Ke tla go bitsa Ntate wa Gembe Khaki for now until I know your name.
Sorry for that, Ben. Kerefilo Moenda, ke a leboga.
Okay. Deputy Minister, what I will do so that we do justice to them, let me just give them 10 minutes to have questions, and then strictly 10 minutes. By 11:10, we'll be done with the questions. So whenever you want to talk, just go straight to the issues. Leave the preambles behind, and then go straight to issues. We heard them. So if you have, I will start with you if you have one, and then let me see other hands. And each and every speaker, it means it will be 1 minute if you are 10. 1, 2, 3. Oh, there are only 3 speakers. I don't know where do we have roving mics. If we don't have roving, we do have roving mics. So, and then le reo le wa Gembe ya check. 1, 2, 3. How sure gore matsogo a lona combined? Is it a combined hands? Okay, Ntate and then yourself. We've got 4 speakers. Again, is it 4? What is the 5th one? Okay, in that order, just go straight to issues. How ka tsena mo di preamble ka go go emisa o sa fetsa go bua selo se o batlang go se bua?
No, ke a leboga, mma. Thank you for the opportunity. I think you've covered the greetings. We hear that the access to funds is something that is spoken of, but we feel it's not entirely covered. There is a challenge with emerging companies when it comes to this yellow plant or access to machinery, maybe let's put it that way, because of the requirements that are needed either from IDC or the DFIs or the banks, whereby the guys that have been in the game, the mines fail us because they give them guarantees. And we are not afforded the same backup of being given guarantees when there are systems that have been put in place for the small companies like your enterprise supplier developments to minimize the risk and the repayment of those particular grants, loans, whatever they may be. So can we please look into that and invite this device into the room and speak directly to them so that we can see the growth of these emerging companies into either contracting companies or junior mining companies that can operate into the space. I think that is my most important one, and everyone else will cover. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one, ki ole kwa wa gempa check.
Hello, yeah. Potso wa ka e simple. Oh, lebitso la ka ke Windy Lerefolo. Ke tswa ko Ikageng, Potchefstroom. Potso wa ka e simple. Ke batla go checka gore mare ke batla go botsa e ka re ke motho o sa tlhaloganyeng gore lehatshe le bereka yang. Potso wa ka ke gore re na le di-department tse dintsi tse di pretender e ka re di a thusa because di fiwa madi go thusa. Ke shebile so se le se se kwetseng sekgwa se le NDP, National Developmental Plan. Gate re a developiwa. Mare development eo e teng mo di office. Mare ke development mo pampiring. Batho ba botlhe ba ba ntseng fa ba batla go itse gore ba itlhayang. Ke na le tsa lengwe ya ka ya re lona le rata gore ba disa dibuka ha le re ba dise madi. Jaanong seo se ra gore ke le ka go le botsa gore ha le dutse le apere disutu le le bantle yang a madi le na lone ka gone ke kgona go apara sutu batho ba bana gana gore ke na le madi. Re dirile go gore society ya South Africa ya pretender di office di teng di dintsi di pretender ka re kra sengwe me go sena sepe yaanong la gore go la leng mo go pretending.
Ke a leboga. The third one.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chair. Chris Matabuche, I'm an entrepreneur from Rustenburg here. I'm worried, would like to share a concern that I've picked up since yesterday. I've been listening carefully to different speakers. The minister is not here, but he had mentioned that we should sum up this to be a one-day event, and I had a concern about that, but I think he might get a message to say there's a lot to really deal with and unpack when it comes to this big idea or endeavor of investment in mining and energy in this province.
The Deputy Minister is here, don't worry.
Thank you. I hope he takes that point, or she takes that point. So that is the first concern, to say there's actually so much to unpack. The reason for that is because I think I wanted to ask as to how is this process coordinated? Who owns it? Who are the stakeholders? The reason for that is that from the panels yesterday to the panelists today, I don't see a voice of entrepreneurs being represented there. And that is problematic. That leads to misalignment in terms of entrepreneurs engaging with mining houses, the departments and all other stakeholders that are positioned to ensure that they enable the socio-economic development of this province going on. I'm speaking to the issue of socio-economic development and economic growth and the GDP that the minister mentioned earlier, to say that we are going to continuously have a similar problem year on year. I would think that last year we had this session, would at least have a situation where we report back to say this is what transpired from the previous session. Governance is a problem in this process. from what I pick up, and I'll tell you why. There's exclusion of entrepreneurs, as I've been saying, in the processes, which are talking about the development of entrepreneurs. That is the big problem. And I think you can sort solutions from us as entrepreneurs. We are not sitting like this to wait for processes like this to be telling us as to what's happening in your province, this is how much platinum is taken from your province, therefore be prepared for supply chain opportunities or becoming a junior mining. So mining has got different segments, but between yesterday and today, we've been speaking about junior mining and investment in mining in terms of beneficiation. Those are the only two segments. I think it's unfair, and I think it's going to cause problems, and we are not addressing the concerns of people who are actually the right beneficiaries being the entrepreneurs. So lastly, pardon me for that, I tried to write so that I save time. I was saying that to ensure that we reach objectives of the vision and mission statements of both the DMRE mining houses, communities, and international business, we need to align. And alignment means calling on entrepreneurs to become part of these processes. And as I was saying, I think we need to change approach. Next time when you prepare, invite SMMEs and entrepreneurs, select 2 or 3, so that when they're sitting on the panel, they can share what kind of frustrations we are facing. So you're missing out on a lot, because you're sitting there and then coming to present to us what you are planning, what you have as the departments. But do you really have space for entrepreneurs to share with you what their concerns are? Contribution can be, because I don't think as entrepreneurs we are excited and happy about disruptions. The reason for disruptions, part of it is that we are not involved in the process of finding solutions. So I think that is the part where
we had you. You took a long time. I was trying not to stop you, but you can give the others to speak. I think we noted your concern. The Deputy Minister is here, the Premier is here, other MECs are here, the officials of DMRE, both DMRE and departments are here, so we noted your concern.
Yeah.
The next one, Dedio Motoko wa gagwe wa Gempe White. Oh, they were combined. You could have told me. Your 1 minute, it's fine. The last one. Or you were raising on his behalf? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sandra Kuno from Phokeng. My question is, what is the legal position regarding the mining waste such as rock, dumps, and tailings? Who owns them?
I don't hear you. I don't know whether they, no one.
Can you hear me?
Huh? Mutu senka mic.
Sorry, is it, can you hear me now? Ooh,
Nothing is coming.
Okay. Okay, all right. What is the legal position regarding the mining waste, such as rock dumps and tailings? Who owns them? Because currently the mining houses are remining them and handing them back to the communities. Thank you. That's my question.
Thank you. That was the last hand. Ne? I noted the hands. I said 10 minutes. I think DM, I don't know why is a relevant table. What I want to do is, if there are people who still think that they do have questions, I want them to go to the officials of the DMRE. Where is the table? DMRE officials, can you raise your hand so that I can show them? Whoever only question, matsogo a o la bona, ke kopa le go go bona le ba botse. Then you will be covered, I think. I don't know whether you can respond.
I think from our side, it is quite clear from the reaction of the audience that this is a very important subject. And therefore, we need to have a conference specifically on this and workshops. But other than that, South Africa, it's a hybrid economy. It's not just a capitalist economy, and it's not just a socialist economy. So therefore, the state needs to intervene. It is quite clear that we need state intervention because we are essentially a developmental state and a developing economy. It has been said by all and sundry that let's stop working in silos so that we can have collaboration from DTI, from DMRE, from the banks and so on. And that requires the strong hand of the state to push that. But it also requires, someone was talking about entrepreneurs not being represented here. And I think these gentlemen may feel offended because they are entrepreneurs. They don't work for big companies. They struggle every day. They've got their frustrations and so on. And it's been repeated by speaker after speaker, including the minister, that the state is not there to develop entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are self-developed. If you can't be an entrepreneur from inside yourself, no one else will make you one. Having said that, let me give each gentleman maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, please, and then we go.
Okay. I think Kivatlo responded to these exclusivity issues. Royal Bafokeng Platinum, it wouldn't have been here today if Bafokeng did not go to Kimberley and start working. So this thing of excluding people and thinking because Umochaneng, it's un-South African, it's very unconstitutional.
Yes.
Bafokeng are what they are because they went to work in diamond mines. And that I am proud of and I'm proud of it. So I cannot come here and start suppressing South Africanism for regionalism. So if an entrepreneur comes here, please work with them. Don't see it as exclusion. Some people know geology, some people know machines, and they're working in Kimberley. Bring them closer. Let's start working with them here so that you can grow with them. But let's not have this entitlement and approach or it's exclusion. Everybody started somewhere.
Exactly.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Masinga?
Just to address the issue of financing, like I've indicated, I'm representing MEMSA. And within the MEMSA organization, we've got equipment manufacturers that include Bell Equipment, AD, Famel. So these are various equipment manufacturers, and each of those manufacturers have and can come up with a customized finance package depending on what the client requires. So there are opportunities that are there. Equipment is available. One just needs to find out which preferred equipment manufacturer they want. And I can guarantee you there is finance packages that are available to assist, especially the emerging miners, and not only miners, but entrepreneurs as well that would want to go into contract mining, into rehabilitation. Equipment is available, and it's locally made, proudly South African. So we are here to assist you guys. Yes.
Mr. Kade?
I wanted to say this regional, it's also a two-party, it's a two-way street. Personally, I'm from Johannesburg. I'm an entrepreneur. And part of the technologies and things that we build, we partner with we go out when you look for willing companies that want to work with us, that are localized, because we want to get the face of the clients and perform through them and all make money. So that's the first thing. We all want to make money. The second part is, in doing, as you've said, if you want to be an entrepreneur, we can't make you one. You are either going to have the vision, you're going to take the bull by the horns, and you are going to do it, or we can't help you. The third part is, time is money. We like to say that a lot. Time is money. But what we don't want to appreciate as Africans, I think, and I will say this loosely, is that to make that money, it takes time. There's no quick cash. So if you want to make quick cash, I can tell you probably you would have to stay very far from most of the panelists here, because we appreciate that part.
Mr. Msiki.
Ministry, too much. This ministry is too small. but it derives a lot of value. We need to expand this ministry because we all want to hear, everybody, communities wants to hear what's going on here. Because this is just, what you call it, just at the corner of Rustenburg, this presentation here. There are millionaires there. People want to know about these things. You know, so this ministry has to be expanded. It's too small as far as I can see because it's not reaching to all of us. It's our capacity. Point entrepreneur le businessman ga ba tshwana. Entrepreneur ke motho o solvang the problem. Businessman ke motho o connecting the dots. Right? So entrepreneurs are far and few in between because those people solve problems. You're talking about Elon Musk, Harley internationally, but businessmen, but the communities are run. Ba tlhoka go empoweriwa, ba tlhoka go partnera le di-company tse di tswang ko di tswang teng. And that way you create a scale. What we need is to create a scale. Maabane o mongwe o ne a bua fa a re, you know, by the time if you are contract, by the time contract fell, how is that totally finance? You know, it's terrible. I mean, I've been to Mpumalanga, I've been to all these mining districts. I'm here to point out entrepreneur only yellow equipment. Rara Isaka ke o le falo le only equipment tsa pele di ADT di le 100. O mongwe ke o le Moseki o na le di drill rig tsa 50. I am here to see that, and without this equipment, if you are contracted, madi a feta ka account wa gago, mare wena sala ka zero. Because madi a patala motho o na le equipment. So ha re kry opportunity to create a scale. We need to create scale. You need to support these guys. I was surprised. The gentleman here was telling me that he's got a contract bigger than MCCs, the old MCCs. But he's using major contractors to mine for him. What's of the value that is to remain for him? At the end of 5 years, I fell that contract. Somebody else steps in. Why loser? Ghana equipment, these are my rigs, so that he can go elsewhere. Of how I am extend the contract here, so that he can derive more value out of it.
Okay,
you know, these are the questions that entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you done, Mr. Isaka? Okay, thank you very much. You may have your seat. Thank you very much. They have tried to respond to some of the questions, but I think we do have other speakers, and then the DM, when she comes, she will also touch on the issue of how was this coordinated and how do we correct it moving forward so that we include everyone. So the DM will respond to that by the time at Lamopele. So I want us to call on stage. Okay, DM and the Premier, I hope you noted. Okay, baseba bonga ke. I want the attention. I want the attention of the DM and the Premier. You know, when you are a program director, you are a boss. Everyone must listen to you, DM. The power of Mike, Premier. Thank you. I was saying there were concerns raised by the entrepreneur, that side Premier, from Rustenburg, I think. And I was saying, DM, by the time you come here, you will respond to some of the issues that he has raised, so that next day when you come here, we correct how we coordinated the conference itself. He also spoke about the resolutions, which I indicated yesterday that the resolutions of last year also, that thing. We need to see that thing. And the minister also said when he opens, we need, when you come next year, we need to make sure that we move from what we have said today and we're moving forward so that we don't talk one thing each and every time when we meet. So these are the things that when the DM Premier comes here, the DM will correct some of the things and give clarity on those matters, even the coordination of the conference itself, because also the minister, he was complaining about the empty tables, which is something that we don't want to see in these conferences, because we do have many emerging miners that need to be invited to these conferences. So I want to call on stage Dr. Mulifi Mutuku, the CEO of Mintech. I'm going to give you 10 minutes and I trust you. Is it a lot? Or you want 5 minutes? 3? Okay.
Good morning, the leadership of the province, the premier, the leadership of the department, the minister, the DM, the officials of the department, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. My presentation will not touch on mining, but really, what do we do with the outputs of mining, which is really beneficial. So I'll focus on opportunities, but being specific on certain commodities. We call them critical minerals, or some people call them strategic minerals. And the intention is to bring this conversation to platforms like this, where we make creation of high-end products a common theme in South Africa. This should not be happening in Europe. My presentation is to say it can be done here. And we do have the resources, we do have the competencies, we do have capabilities to do that. And it is to demystify that we cannot create these industries in South Africa. So I will talk about critical minerals and the position of South Africa. The focus of this presentation is actually on battery minerals. And we have done a lot of work in this area in South Africa. And don't mind the technical jargon in the presentation, just follow the colors. When it says green, it's a clear opportunity. Focus on that. We can talk about that after the presentation. When it is yellow, it's a potential. When it's amber or orange, it can still be worked on. Just follow the colors. What are the key drivers of battery minerals? First, let me highlight that when we talk about critical minerals, we are really talking about, in most studies, lithium, nickel, cobalt, copper, rare earth elements. Then battery minerals is a little bit broader. Lithium is still there, nickel, cobalt, manganese, vanadium, copper, aluminum, the ore body there is bauxite, graphite, titanium, phosphate, fluorspar. The other one is more of plastics. Correct name will be polymers. What are the key drivers? Most of these are used in energy production, whether it's photovoltaics, wind, as well as in electromobility, motors and batteries, grid expansion. And this is important because we're talking about higher penetration of renewables. We're talking about moving to electromobility, and we're saying South Africa can play a role in this important, really expanding sector. Many people get scared to enter into these areas because they are afraid that there are no support systems, we don't have competencies in the country. So let me quickly go through some few examples. First, if you look at if you just look at SADC, we have all these critical minerals. In South Africa, the only one that we don't have is lithium, but you can go to Namibia, you can go to Zimbabwe, you can go to I think those are the two, but also I'm aware that our colleagues at CGS, they are busy at work on exploration, and the panel indicated the importance of exploration. If you need graphite, we can go to Mozambique. So you just look at SADC. If you don't have it in South Africa, and the speakers indicated that we need to go beyond our provinces. I'm saying here we need to go also beyond our borders. Zimbabwe just announced that they will not allow the export of raw lithium. That poses an opportunity for South Africa as well, because we do have the capabilities to process lithium, as an example. Now, zooming into South Africa, and you look at the ranking of South Africa on some of these critical minerals. Fluorspar, we rank #1 globally. Great opportunity for us. Manganese, not only ranked #1, but high-grade manganese coming out of South Africa. Vanadium, second. And I'll talk a little bit more about vanadium and some of the challenges associated with the production of vanadium. Titanium, fourth. Nickel, fifth. Phosphate, and then rare earth elements, a bit low. The challenge here for us also, there's currently no mining operations, but there are projects that have been considered. South Africa, we do have strong capabilities on mining, refining, and precursor production. Precursor, what you mine, then precursor, we're talking about those materials that you prepare as inputs into making batteries, and I'll talk more about that later. If you just look at vanadium and manganese, South Africa is ranked highly in terms of mining, refining, and precursor production. Nickel also moderately ranked. Aluminum is ranked moderately because we do not have the resources. However, we do produce aluminum. Where we say lowly ranked is because we don't have those resources, but as I've indicated earlier on, we can secure those in the neighboring countries. Now, many people say, but how do I get into start producing those materials? Here I'm indicating I come from Mintech. Our role at Mintech is to de-risk technologies, is to create capabilities that will support extraction of minerals, to support beneficiation of minerals. So what I'm indicating here, where you see green extraction processes, we are saying we have those. You can come to Mintech, we'll support you. Where we are saying processing, materials processing, we have done all those things, produce nickel sulfate, manganese sulfate, cobalt sulfate, vanadium, copper metal, lithium hydroxide. We have done that, and we have supported companies to establish production in the country, and I'll give one or two examples later. Recycling, you want to enter that business of recycling, we do have capabilities. You have the support that you need. Technically, the technologies associated with the production or recycling of these important materials. These are some of our facilities. We are based in Randburg. Now, you want to understand when we talk about battery value chain, what are we talking about? So I will talk about from mining, what you need to be mining, then processing. You process the outputs of mining to produce those metals. Then midstream, you continue to add value. And this is where it gets complex. And this is why we're here, and this is why we're talking to you to say you'll get the technical support. I'm very clear it's technical support. Financially, we don't talk that language. We don't understand the finances. So other people will talk about that. Then what can we actually build in the country downstream? So I'll go through that now in a color format. But first, let's look at demand of these metals. You can see graphite, copper, aluminum, the demand is the highest. Then you start to look at nickel, manganese, cobalt. Now, there are different drivers to these demands. These battery minerals and the batteries, there are so many different chemistries or combinations. And because of that, it also drives prices and the demand. So it's not for you, but to indicate that we do anticipate this demand to grow for a foreseeable future. Now, upstream battery value chain, I'm talking about opportunities here. Great opportunities if you're in the nickel, manganese, cobalt, and copper and vanadium mining. I'll say continue. The demand will be there. We do have the reserves. We do have the resources. Now, what do you do with nickel to start to add value? You produce nickel sulfate. We do have the technologies. There are people currently that we supported that they are producing nickel sulfate. So the issue here is not to produce a sulfate. Most of these, they require high purity. That's why partnerships with the likes of Mintech is important. Manganese sulfate, we need more. Even though they have one or two producing, we need more, and I'll show you the numbers later on. Copper metal, vanadium pentoxide, we know the Bushveld Minerals is playing in the space. So in mineral processing, great opportunities for people to enter that. We are saying this with confidence because for almost 12 months, we conducted a study. This information is coming out of a study that we conducted jointly with the World Bank. So there are numbers behind this. This has been quantified, and we're saying, please, let's tap into these opportunities. Where you see yellow, lithium is because we don't have it. But if you source it, it will move to green. Cobalt is because technically you need to be closer to the operations. But we're dealing with those technical challenges. So in adding value, more value, there are opportunities in material processing. That's the take-home message here. Midstream, you continue to add value. You can see that we don't have aluminum, but we do process bauxite in the country. This is a legacy when we used to have cheap electricity, because the production of aluminum is a high intensity energy consuming process. Where you see NMC, this is nickel, manganese, cobalt, powder. These are now products that we can start making in the country, and graphite and copper foil. Now, if you look at aluminum, for instance, we have Hillside Aluminum producing. Then in terms of aluminum foil, we have Hulamin, mid-sized company. We work with Hulamin to develop some of their products. The support came from Mintech. Okay. For instance, if you look at nickel, Takadu Battery Materials, they just commissioned nickel sulfate plant. The processing of that and the technology behind that, it was done at Mintech. And that's what I'm illustrating, that we'll work with you, develop the flow sheet for you to be able to produce them. You go where you need to secure funding, you set up the plant. That support we are ready to give to entrepreneurs. That's our role. We will not be doing you a favor. We are mandated to do that. Now, if you look at further now, move from mining, concentration, you are adding value. Material processing, you are adding value. Now we start talking about making components. battery materials. You can see now these slides, you see more green in this slide. What it says, there are more opportunities for you to exploit. Downstream, what can we really make in South Africa? If you look at vanadium, everything that you need to make actually can be done in South Africa. From mining of vanadium, vanadium pentoxide, very after-sought material, vanadium electrolyte, vanadium battery assembly and stacks. Now I was talking about making a battery in South Africa. Of course, what we are suggesting is that first, look at assembly. Get all the parts that you need overseas, do assembly here, but the inputs, most of them can be done in South Africa. And we do have a local South African company in the name of Bushveld Minerals who are setting up operations to produce vanadium pentoxide, and they are looking further to produce vanadium electrolytes. Lithium, we can get lithium, but also the study indicated that South Africa can start to produce lithium-ion cell manufacturing by 2030 to produce at least 20 gigawatt hour of energy. Great potential, and I'm talking to entrepreneurs here to say this is an opportunity not to be missed. Here, downstream, battery manufacturing. Premier, you're asking me, what are we doing currently? We'll answer that. What we are saying here also, these are opportunities that I believe we should discuss and say, how can it be done? Lithium-ion battery assembly in South Africa is possible. But also, we conduct a lot of studies. And sometimes people say, I want to do it at all costs. Here we are saying there's an opportunity to recycle lithium-ion batteries. But currently there's no business case to do that because the volumes are so low. We have conducted this study. Also, we'll be working with you to look at the business case of some of these ventures that one will like to pursue. Some key national initiative, and I'll talk about this one, is important. The hydrogen and fuel cell program, which is supported by the department, as well as the Department of Science and Innovation. This program started around 2006. 2003 in the country, we were proposing that the country should build capacity in hydrogen and fuel cell. 2003. It took us to participate in platforms like this, and many people say, but what is this that you are proposing that you embark on? Currently, we hear a lot of people saying we want to be in fuel cells. We started building this capacity, the research, the people, since 2004. This program was launched in 2006 at Mintech. We have a lot of scientists, facilities, producing catalysts that are important ingredients in the manufacturing of fuel cells. So we have done that. We have catalysts that I'll show you examples that people who are interested to look at that. We are moving to the next phase of producing critical components for, if I may use this word, an engine of a fuel cell, which is membranes. Don't need to remember that. There won't be any questions or tests after this presentation. What we are showing here, it takes long. One of the entrepreneurs indicated that time is money, but if you want to make quick bucks, this process, we're talking about 2030, to have all the elements that we need to be able to add or contribute to the production of fuel cells in the country. That's our vision at Mintech for 2030. These are some of the catalysts that we have produced that are competing globally to show that, to demonstrate that. This is our entrance at Mintech in Randburg, and this is a fuel cell. The picture that we are looking at the bottom, there's a fuel cell. The catalysts that are used in that fuel cell came from Mintech. So we're talking about competitive products that are coming out of South Africa. On top, the Parking Bay, those are photovoltaics, also producing energy at Mintech, and we contributed to that. So this is our journey also to make sure that we de-risk the technologies, but also we can give you the best support that you require to go into this. It is possible. There is a company called Bambili in the country, and there are a few others who actually partnered with international companies to put this fuel cell together, jointly with Mintech, of course, and the Department of Science and Innovation. So it can be done. It is, yes, a bit complex, but this is why we're here. Even though I indicated that vanadium, the demand is high, there are also technical challenges associated with mining vanadium. If you look at those red veins, this is where you find a very unique deposits of vanadium that comes together with titanium and iron ore. The challenge currently is that there's no technology that can separate, that has been demonstrated, that can separate all three elements. So what people do, they just scavenge titanium, vanadium, and they leave the valuable titanium and iron ore as waste. We have the support of government to build a facility to unlock that technical challenge. We have done the research, we have demonstrated that it can be done. We are building the facility. We're investing over 150 million in this facility. We do have partners, the Ironfeld, the Bushveld Minerals, and we invite more who are mining vanadium so that you can truly exploit all the three elements. They are all valuable. As I indicated, you need the titanium for battery precursor material. You need iron ore. The demand for iron ore is increasing. So this facility is under construction. We anticipate that it will be completed towards the end of this year. If not, it will be early next year. Also, we have indicated that rare earth elements are important. The importance of this is that China dominates the reserves as well as the production. Over 90% of rare earth elements are produced in China. Over 90% of rare earth alloys are produced in China. And few times, China restricted exports of rare earth elements. And that's why the world is looking everywhere. I don't know how many times we have been approached, either by EU, the department can attest to that, by the UK, by everybody looking for these critical minerals. That's how important, or maybe how critical these critical minerals are. So at Mintech, we have demonstrated that we can process these rare earth elements. The biggest challenge we have is that nobody is mining rare earth elements currently. There are two promising projects, Steenkamp, we're engaging with them. Unfortunately, they are in the Western Cape, or maybe still the same country, but we need to start somewhere. And Glenova, and we appealed to Council for Geoscience. We are in constant discussions with them to prioritize exploration of rare earth elements. Is key for us. The technology is not an issue. It is the production that we need to work on. We are active in this space. Just to summarize the opportunity on these critical minerals, just follow the green. There are plenty. Now to illustrate in numbers what can be produced. About 80 tons, 80,000 tons, that's a lot of nickel sulfate. And we're talking about 5.8 billion here that can be produced. And we are talking about job creation, Premier, if such facilities could be established. Production, 6 million liters of vanadium electrolytes, 5,000 tons of aluminum foil, 10,000 tons of manganese, 20,000 tons of ferrous. And this is the current demand, which is anticipated to continue to rise. Overall, the various manufacturing opportunities are estimated at 9.7 billion. These are clear-cut opportunities, and I was happy to start hearing about the entrepreneurs and what we are saying here. I'm looking at you, sir. Here are the opportunities, and I hope that after this we'll engage on some of these opportunities. Largest localization opportunities. This whole presentation, even if I did not say it, it is about localizing production, and that's why we're here. We can do it in South Africa. It is, here we're talking about establishment of lithium-ion battery assembly, and we're saying assembly because it's a low-hanging fruit to import parts, assemble, get your hands dirty. We'll start incorporating some of the locally developed technologies with time. Talking about here, about additional 16 billion worth of revenue. And these are, when we did this study 2021, these are 2021 prices. Over long term, we said 2030, lithium-ion manufacturing facility in South Africa, but we need to start now. Here, potentially 6 billion worth of revenue. Colleagues, this is my story for today, and I'm sticking to my story, that there are opportunities.
Thank you very much, Dr. Molefe. And I hope that the SMMEs and the entrepreneurs, Chris, I hope we will Dr. Sentle. Doctor, as much as there are these opportunities, let us make sure that we take out these red tapes for our people. That is a main problem, I think. Thank you very much for that presentation. We will keep in touch. I can see the Premier is already on that part. Premier, take the contact, all of them. His PAs, the personal ones, office line, emails, and so on for the people of this province, especially, and South Africa at large. So thank you very much, Dr. Molefe. The next presenter will be Ntate Mohau Molefe. He will present on the prospects and challenges for junior miners in the Northwest Province. Out then, Ntate Mohau Molefe. I will give you 15 minutes, and you will understand why I'm giving
was progressing, I thought I was going to come here and say, all protocol observed. But after the post-mortem from the happenings of yesterday and today, I think it's in order that I salute the Premier of the Northwest, the Deputy Minister,